So instead of worrying about the approval of others, and also people that we'll never meet in our life, think about seeking the approval of future Ryan.
We don't have to make this thing 2 minutes or less. It's like, we just need to make it interesting. Our attention span, it's only as long as something is not interesting anymore.
In terms of creating content, it's looking at the systems that you already have built to have good productions, and that's the content that you should be sharing.
On episode 342 of the podcast, Ryan pretends he's a voiceover artist. We also chat with Morgan J. Ingram, and we talk about the power of content-driven conversations and Morgan's groundbreaking approach to this topic. You're going to learn how he's creating compelling shows that captivate audiences and drive real results. We also cover my favorite topic. It is not neon green shirts, but I am wearing this as a nod to the trip I got to take with my daughter in her 7th grade class to Chicago not too long ago. But we're on this episode, we're also talking about embracing authenticity and vulnerability. We talk about why being open about failures and challenges can actually deepen connections with our audience and lead to greater support and engagement. And lastly, we cover the importance of intentionality over high production quality. This is a hard pill for me to swallow, but it's very important for us to talk about. You're going to learn how focusing on creating interesting and intentional content can have a far greater impact than obsessing over perfection. Okay, I hear myself talking to myself. I get it. So whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or you're just starting your journey, this episode is packed with game-changing insights that will inspire and empower you to take your sales and marketing to the next level. What is up, friends? Welcome to this episode. It's Ryan Coral from Studio Sherpas, and this is the Grow Your Video Business podcast. This is the show. If you're a corporate or commercial filmmaker, you're probably in the right place. If you want to work on your business, if you want to figure out what things you can put in place in your business to keep this thing running, to turn this into some kind of a machine that maybe could run on its own. But that means you've got to have sales and marketing in tune. You've got to have processes and procedures lined up so that the business can run. And I've been doing this for 18 years. If you're new here, I have a workshop that I call the 6-Figure Filmmaker Workshop. It is my gift to you. It's my summarization of the last 18 years of me doing this work, some of my best practices, lessons learned, things that I thought were true that aren't, things that I hope you can learn from and apply to build something that is sustainable, something that lasts well beyond you. Wouldn't that be cool to have a business that, like, you know, we could sell one day, or at least be positioned to sell, a business that doesn't require us? And if you're at the beginning stages, you might be thinking like, why would I want to do that? I love to do all the things. Well, one day you're not going to love to like do payroll, or you're not going to love to have to do taxes, or you're not going to love to have to fire people. Like, there are certain things in your business that you don't have to do all of the things, and that's good to know. So you can get access to this free workshop if you go to studiosherpas.com/workshop. That is my 6-Figure Filmmaker Workshop. Totally free for you at studiosherpas.com/workshop. With that, let's jump into this episode. Here we go. What's up, friends? Hey, welcome to another episode. Today, I have with me Morgan J. Ingram, who is a dynamic leader. He's an innovator and entrepreneur. He has significantly impacted the world of B2B sales and marketing. He is the CEO and founder of Ascension Media Productions. He is leading the charge to transform traditional outbound sales and marketing methods. I swear this is not my first rodeo. He's doing this by creating content-driven conversations that generate revenue. Morgan, I'm so pumped to have you on the show, man. Welcome.
Yeah, man. I'm really excited to be here. Excited to dive into it.
So, how in the world, like, where did I find, I'm just kidding. I found you, you came up on LinkedIn. We connected on LinkedIn, or I'm following you on LinkedIn. Your work is great. And I think the heartbeat behind what you do really aligns with our people here on that listen to the show. Give us a picture of what your work looks like kind of on a day-to-day basis.
Oh,
Like,
man.
what would you say you do here?
Yeah, well, what is your occupation? So on a day-to-day basis, my focus is how can I have the most time of my day to create the most innovative and creative content for my clients. And so what I'm doing is helping them produce shows. And when I produce those shows in terms of content shows, they're more longer format. So obviously like a TV show, but I do it episodic. And then I'm helping them with their employee engagement and helping those employees turn into essentially, I like to call them like mini amplifiers or actors, if you want to call that, and putting them into those shows. So I spend a lot of time developing and producing those shows, helping people getting better on video, confident in their content, and then also as well creating content on platforms like LinkedIn and YouTube. And then, from time to time, because I have a sales training background, I'll do sales workshops. I've been really diving into AI and sales. That could be AI in general, could be a different conversation. That might be another episode. But that's my day to day from a professional standpoint.
And not to digress, but you brought it up, so I'm just going to say it. This morning, I watched, there's a documentary called The Social Dilemma. Have you seen this or heard of this?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it, though.
Yeah, so we need to, we've got 2 teenagers. We need to like force these kids to watch this show. But anyway, I saw a YouTube video this morning of these same guys in March. They did a presentation for a group of, I think, really smart people all about AI and the dangers that our potential. Dude, after watching that video, I'm so scared. I don't get scared, but I watch it, I'm like, wow, this is I think a lot bigger than what any of us
here's a crazier
realize.
stat. This is going to make some people more scared, but it's important for everyone to know this. So, and I forgot exactly the source. So someone's like, where's the source? Like, Google it, it's there. So it's saying that Gen Z, so kids that are younger generation, treat a real life conversation the same as a digital conversation. Now, like really, like I might have to say that again, because like if you really think about that, is insane. A real life interaction they treat as the same as a digital interaction. That to me is the scariest that I have ever been told in a very long time. I was like, because then it's like, okay, then it's like people are like, oh, AI, we won't be able to tell the difference. Well, they don't even care.
Yeah. Well, in this video that I watched this morning, these guys shared this scenario. I don't know if Snapchat still has this feature available, but they had an option where you could turn AI on and talk to this AI, bot, whatever.
Right.
And the conversation that they presented was, hey, I'm this 13-year-old kid, and I just made a new friend who's 8 years older than me, and we're gonna go on this little trip for my birthday. And it just kind of like went down this like very, very dark. And the AI was like, oh, that's great, and here's some ideas on things that you can do on this. I was like, oh man, this is really wild. And thinking, pairing with what you just said. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that, I think, anymore. That's the next episode. But that world is pretty wild. I think, with the work that you're doing, I would say that a lot of us listening are like, whoa, creating episodic show, like for brands, like that sounds really, really intriguing and enticing. How did you get to that spot where like that's the kind of work that you were doing? Like what led up to that point to where you realized like, hey, there's a market for this, and how did that start?
Yeah, so before I got into this, I had already been creating content on LinkedIn consistently. So I started in 2016. So for those of you who've been on LinkedIn at 2016, I mean, that's when they just like created the post button. So people were just like, what is this? Yeah, right? Like, what do I do? It was only like LinkedIn Pulse. The people who only posted were people who were already the influencer, right? The celebrities or, whatever that was, or you were a consultant or a business owner. But that was about it. There weren't salespeople posting. There weren't like, normal employees posting. It was just like, I'm going on LinkedIn to get my resume fixed so I can go get a job. And that's it. So I saw a huge opportunity in just creating content. And I created a show called the SDR Chronicles. And I did that all the way up until 140 episodes. Ooh. So I got in the 3 digits like you. So we we're in the 3-digit club. We made it. All right. So I'll cherish that forever. Right. But you learn so much by doing that. And so that got me, inbound opportunities. I got invited to panels. I got consulting opportunities, advice opportunities. And this is the key point about this, everybody. This was my first job out of college. I was 5-6 months into my SDR role, and all these opportunities are popping up because I'm just doing content. So I was like, all right, I'm not even really, I like barely selling it. I'm barely like in the game, and like I'm getting all this just from creating content. So I just remember that. And then when I got into sales training, fast forward ahead, I did that for 3 years. I did Salesforce, Zoom, Snowflake. I trained them on top of the funnel and prospecting. So when I would go in person to do these trainings, a lot of people were like, well, this is great, but can you help our reps create content? And so I'd help them create content. But then marketing was like, well, like, I don't know. HR is like, well, I don't know. But I felt like something was there. And in the conclusion of my training, I liked doing it. I still like doing it, but it wasn't fulfilling to the highest level for me. And it's not something that I was like, it was like a burning passion. And so I actually took some time last year to be like, what do I actually want to learn more about, that even if I was not getting paid for it, even if someone was like, you have to study this for the rest of your life, you would do that. And for me, it was creating content. Edutainment is what I like to call it, and just really putting myself out there on a different level, and just the creativity on out of the box. And so I was watching, so I don't know if y'all seen the show Peaky Blinders. I love that show. And so I was watching it, and something just clicked with me, and I was like, wait, like I'm sitting here, I've watched 4 episodes right now, right? And like I'm gonna watch another hour of this, but I'm hooked, right? But why? And I was like, well, the characters are good. I'm emotionally invested. Like, it's a really good story. It's a good pace. I'm subscribed to this. If something were to come around the corner and say Peaky Blinders pop up in Atlanta, I would go. So in that moment, I was like, why doesn't B2B do that? Like, B2B is always trying to capture demand, right? You're trying to get subscribers. You're trying to get people emotionally invested. You have products to sell. Why, instead of doing a one-off webinar that nobody cares about, why wouldn't you create it as a show and then get your employees to become the actors in those shows, so that you could leverage their personal brand and also your company brand and create a movement around that? So when I thought of that, I was like, okay, that could be something, but is the market ready? And after having conversations with multiple executives and people, the market is ready, because people are looking to move away from traditional marketing and going non-traditional, and everyone wants to become a media company now. So yeah, a part of a media company is having these productions that are episodic, show like employee advocacy, creating innovative content, and putting yourself out there. So that's how it all came together.
That's so good. Yeah, I think it is like very alluring. The edutainment, I mean, we'd be silly to say like we don't see that as being the thing, right? I know so many workshops that we've done with clients that have hired us to do videos for them. I kind of ask the question just to throw it out there and see how they respond. Like, hey, how long does this piece do you see it being? Yeah. And they're like, well, like people's attention span is not that long. So, we can't make it that long, but if we're going to be spending this much money, well, it should at least be like this long. And I just think that's so funny, because, you talk about Peaky Blinders. It's like our attention span, it's only as long as something is not interesting anymore. As soon as it's yeah, this is not for me, or it's just like boring or whatever, we're on to the next thing. So you can create something about a business. I mean, how many Netflix shows are like you're following business owners around and it's like, wow, this is really cool. And it's like, no, it's not. We don't have to make this thing 2 minutes or less. It's like, we just need to make it interesting. Like create some characters and create some, not create, like let's highlight the characters. Let's highlight the stories that exist. You're not boring. You guys are doing like incredible stuff. Like let's bring that to the forefront and invite people into that journey. Exactly.
And inviting them into the journey and allowing people that already have the subject matter expertise to shine. And so the key here is that when people think of the employee advocacy, they're thinking about like, oh, we got to get the sales reps activated. We got to get the managers activated. And that is correct. However, you're not going to see the momentum until your executives make the decision that one of them is going to do this. And not the only way, but the main way in order for them to do this is that you have to produce something for them. They have to be doing a podcast. They have to be doing some type of show, because that's how they're going to be able to have scalable content. Because if I ask a CEO to be like, hey, can you write content for me? Unless they have done this before, like they don't have the time for that. But if I can get them into like a, 2-hour episodes they could record a month, I can have enough content. I can produce and extract enough content for them for the month, and I'm seeing it already. Right, we could produce that amount of content that's thoughtful, intentional, and that also has the edutainment factor. But again, it's hard for people to start because they don't want to do it incorrectly. But there are ways to do it correctly.
Oh man. Yeah. There's just this fear that most corporations have of like, everything's got to be, if we're going to go to market with it, it's got to be polished and done and complete, and we can't say the wrong thing. It's like, oh man, like we all see through that. Like it just feels like everything on your website is a stock photo and a stock video. It's like,
right.
You got real people that work there, right? You're not perfect, right? Because golly, that just doesn't feel very human. It feels like were you an AI company?
Yeah, exactly. Just AI all day. Like, come on, get it together.
I'm curious, Morgan, like with this setup, like how you're kind of explaining, you would talk to an executive or something, and are you saying that you would bring them in to do some kind of like a video podcast and just like have very engaging questions to create that content, or like what are you actually doing as part of that process?
Yeah, this is a hot take. This might make this actually everyone will be fired up that I'm about to say this audience. Y'all are going to be fired up when I say this. I believe that doing an audio podcast is the biggest waste of time on earth. It doesn't make any sense. So,
okay.
No. Think about it. No.
I'm canceling that show.
Listen to me. So what I'm saying is we're on video right now, though. I'm talking about we don't do video at all. It's just an audio only podcast, and people still do this. That is you're actually just wasting a ton of time, because in this conversation we're having right now, and maybe I can call you out. Think about this. In this conversation we're having right now, you could take clips of me talking. You could rebrand it and post it. Yeah. You could feel the energy of it. You could use it for promotion. You could use it for ads for people to come on. No one is going to listen.
Plus, I mean, look at how good looking we both are.
People are going to click anyways, right? It doesn't matter what we're talking about. So the thing is that if it's an audio only ad, it's going to suck. Nobody's going to care about an audio only ad. So I think if you're only doing podcasts, I think it's one of the biggest losing strategies ever, because and this is another thing that's important. And for those of you who go do in-person video interviews, you're already going to know this. When you do an in-person interview, that energy is insane. Like the conversation is different. So if it's audio only, you can't even see the person. It's not going to be as good as when like we can see each other. Even though we're not in person, it's going to be better than the audio only. Plus I can extract this information to make it better. But so basically the way that I go about it is saying, hey, we're going to create a production for you, but it's not only a video podcast. So with some people, you have to read their personality. They're not ready to do a podcast because their personality is just a little bit too awkward, but they're super smart. Like they're academic to a whole new level. So what I do is I actually do a 1 hour call with them on Riverside, and I have questions already prepared for them that are pain points of their buyers. And I just ask them questions in a very conversational environment where they feel comfortable. So now their energy is there. They're excited. They're comfortable with me. Right. And we could get a lot of content. And then over time, if they want to go create a show, well, you got comfortable with me. Like we're just going to flip it and we're going to elevate it. Then we're going to create the video podcast. Then we could create bigger shows. Then we could do in person. But everything is a progression of a value ladder to get people to feel comfortable. I don't throw people into video podcasts if I sense they're not ready, because some people aren't. So that's the production level. We just look at what production do you need to start doing, and then we execute from there.
That's awesome. Yeah, super smart. And dude, I mean, I feel the same way. I think the first, I don't know if it was the first handful of podcast interviews that I did, we filmed, but not with the intention of ever repurposing it. It was just going to be audio. And then after a handful, I was like, oh my gosh, like we have to be capturing these because we can repurpose. And it's like, wow, not just audio, but video and then snippets and like just all the things. It's like, oh my goodness. For the shows or for what you're creating, like what's the coolest, maybe most out of the box thing that you've been able to partner with a client on?
I'm gonna speak to one that I did. Okay, I'll speak one from a client perspective, but I'll talk about one that I did when I was with the company, but I led the project. I want to speak to both of these because it's the most exciting project I've ever done. So let's talk about the one that I love. So it was last year. Are you familiar with Big Brother? The show.
Like
the show.
Oh,
We're gonna go down a rabbit hole. Don't do that. No. We already went on AI.
We're already talking AI. Yeah, exactly.
No, not that. I should have clarified, but not that. Okay.
What about Freemasonry or the?
Yeah, we're gonna go crazy with it. So we did this concept called a content house, and so the original concept of a content house came from Big Brother. You bring people in one house and you create content. It was a reality show, and for most people that don't know, that's actually what started this trend. And now TikTokers, YouTubers do the same. You also can Jake Paul did the same thing. So they bring a lot of creators in one house and they create content. So for B2B, that had never been done before. So me, organization that did JB Sales, we did a content house and we invited the top B2B sales and marketing creators and we put them in one house in Buckhead in Atlanta. And so we had in-person content, we did in-person webinars, we did TikToks, we did shorts, the whole thing. And that was like the most exciting thing that I've done, because the shows that we did within that were a cold calling workshop that went well. We had a webinar that we did that week that went well as well. So that was probably one of the most exciting ones that I've done by far, in terms of like outside of the
That's
client.
pretty cool.
So there's that. Now there's a couple of them that are in production right now, and so I would say in a couple months I'd have a way better answer. I am excited about them, but they haven't been out. They're not out yet. So like I can't, I can't be like, oh, this is gonna be the greatest thing. So it's not out yet, but I will speak to one that I did do. It was in person and it was a ton of fun. So we did a mock cold calling experience. So this company I work with, their audience is salespeople and sales leaders. And so we had the event in person, and we had a mock cold calling competition. So basically we would have it was like basically like they call it like Dragon's Den over there, but Shark Tank style. So you have like 3 to 4 judges. And then we had one person who was the prospect, and there were people who signed up for this competition, and the prospect already knew what persona they were, their the buyer persona, the techniques, the whatever they were doing, challenges, parties, they knew the whole thing. So rep would go up there and do a mock cold call. Their goal was to convert the opportunity. And so it was like pitted against each other, like 1v1. So it was cool. It was just like tournament, March Madness tournament style, finals, everything. It was really intense, like, going back and forth. And so, obviously that person had to be impartial and be a legitimate prospect every single time, but it was cool to see that competition. So that's probably the most fun show we've done so far. And to give a correlation to that of how we got there, we do something called a cold calling live with them. So we'll do like mock cold calls. We'll like do this whole entire thing. And then basically through the mock cold calls, we'll have someone who comes up that's a rep, and then we'll go back and forth on the mock cold call. And then as you do virtual events, people get excited and you could do an in-person event. And so that's what led to that. So the show, right, was like, here's the mock cold calling. We did the virtual, and then we brought it in person and elevated it.
That's really cool. Who ends up, like, who's the client? Who pays for you, and how does that actually happen? From like an ICP
standpoint?
Yeah.
Because of the brand that I built within SaaS is primarily within that goal. I treat everything in phases as a founder. So I'm in phase 0 right now. And so the next phase is, I'll progressively get out of SaaS, but this is where I've been. So it just is, I have those connections. So typically the companies that will bring me in, they're Series B plus, so Series C, Series D, etc. That could be public companies, but we'll see that as I have conversations. And then also as well, they're targeting sales professionals. So they're a sales technology, marketing technology, or HR. Those are the 3 main industries that I work within. And then outside of that, it could be cybersecurity. It could be, data companies, but that's a little bit more out there. Those 3 I typically work in because I've sold to sales, I've sold to marketing, and then HR, they're always looking for employee, obviously. So it plays within my narrative there. And so people who also are looking to get more content out there. So they're looking to do more video. They know they want to be a media company. They know they have to be non-traditional to beat the people that are ahead of them that did traditional marketing. So they have to be completely different in order to get to that next level.
Most everybody that listens to the show, we all own video production companies, right? So we're creating content for clients. I think more and more slowly, it's painful because we don't have the time, but we know we need to be creating our own content. What opportunity or opportunities would you see for a company like mine that's like, dude, if you're not doing this, you're missing a huge opportunity to connect with your ideal clients and to sell more of what you want to be doing.
I'm going to give this advice, and when you think about this, you have to contextualize it for how you would do it. Like this idea, everyone could do it and everyone could basically mimic this, but you have to think about how it's going to be unique to you. But I'll give like the basis of this. So when you're working on a project, people want to know, how do you think about it? Because a lot of it, when you do a project or you go into video production or even like you're capturing, you just think it's like straightforward. It's like, oh, this is just what I do. And it is, but
Right.
But how are you going about it? That's what people want to know. Like, how do you prep for this? Do you, I don't know, go in the float tank? Do you take a walk? Do you, I don't know, do you meditate? Do you have a certain meetings that you do? Like, what is your strategy when you think about this? And I would guarantee you probably everyone listening in has a different way of how they do this. And so in terms of creating content, it's looking at the systems that you already have built to have good productions. And that's the content that you should be sharing. Now, I'm not telling you to share every single thing in your secret sauce. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you share components of that. Like, how do you prepare it? How do you prep your team for the shoot? How do you prep the client for the shoot? How do you make sure that they're confident? How do you make sure that people are confident on video so you don't have to reshoot 1,000 times? These are all things that you probably have systems in play on how you do that. And you can start telling that behind the scenes story, because yes, the work that you do with your clients and the results from that are obviously going to be a huge megaphone. But what is another huge megaphone is, how do you get to those results? What is that path? And that's what people want to know.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I've shared something similar where, we've got some powerful videos, man, like just life change, incredible success that, businesses have been able to help with their clients. And we post these amazing videos, and it's, we look at the view count and it's like, oh gosh, like in engagement's like super low. But as soon as we post, behind the scenes photo that we just take with our phone of us on set or something part of the process, it's like, wow, that got like 30 times the amount of views or comments. There's something to pay attention to there.
I think it's also just like, people want to see you in action. People want to see what you're doing. And then also, like, think about it this way. It's easy to create this content. Get someone to like take a picture of you shooting the content and then later recap how that day was. Like, how did you prepare for the day? Maybe there was an obstacle that happened on set. Talk about how you overcame the obstacle. These are things that people want to know, right? Because people just think that it's just capturing video, see you later. Like, there's a lot of things that go into it to make sure that it's successful. And those raw moments behind the scenes is what people want, because people like obviously the high quality if it's a great video, but they also want to know like what you're doing as well.
Yeah. So take that a little bit further for me. Like, what is it? And, we can talk about the sales process or the buyer's journey or whatever, but what is it in people that, are watching these, seeing these photos or these behind the scenes videos of us on set, doing our thing, talking about how we got here? Like, what is it in these people that's interesting to them? Like, why do they want to know that stuff?
Now we're going down a psychological route. So, all right. Yeah.
We're going to get real deep
I believe there's 3 reasons. Number 1.
See, I knew you had more than one reason.
I got 3. So number 1 is because it's something they aspire to do. So it feels like a connective tissue for me to like something that I aspire to do. This would actually be an interesting exercise. And then I'm going on a rabbit hole, but it's Facebook, so they definitely have the data on this. They could definitely figure this out. So actually, you probably could do this with Instagram. So if you looked at your last 100 likes and scroll through the photos, I guarantee you like 75% of those are things that you aspire to do. Oh, that person was on vacation. I would love to be on that vacation. Or, oh, wow, that person got a new car. I'd love to get that car. Or I'd love to have that job. I'd love to do that thing. But you're not doing it. But it's something you aspire to do. I guarantee if everyone went exercise, this is homework for everybody. You didn't know about this, but you got homework. Sorry. So if you looked at your 100 past likes, I guarantee you'd be like, wow, like these are all the things I aspire to do. And then you gotta ask yourself the question, what are you going to do with that? But like, I think about like what I was looking at and liking this morning. I was like, yeah, these are all things I aspire to do, like what I want to do. And like, am I answering the question? Am I going in that path? I think that's a big point of it. Number 2, I think people are just sick of don't take this the wrong way, y'all, because I'm very high quality as well. But you have to understand the perspective I'm going to come from this one. I think people are sick of high quality sometimes, and I think high quality doesn't mean like highly produced. By the way, I think high quality means intentional, and I think everyone can see that differently. But I think most people are starting to get turned off by super produced things because they think it's fake, even though it's not. Look, I think, like, if it's super produced, like, I'm all in, like, that's my eye. But I think some people think it's like fake to a degree. So anything that's like raw, real in time, it's like, this is a real person that's actually out there doing it. This is fascinating. I want to be a part of that. Right. And I think the third thing is people want to follow a journey from, the ground up. People love the underdog stories. People love the come up story. So to see the behind the scenes of, well, okay, this person did a shoot and it was like 10 people. Now I've been following them for 5 months. And now they're doing it on 100 people. And people love those stories for sure, And so I think those are the 3 reasons that people love that content.
I think, I agree with all of those. The idea that people want to follow, like, I mean, golly, who doesn't love an underdog story, right?
Right.
I think for so long in my business, 18 years into this thing, there's been so many pieces that I didn't share or pieces of the journey that I didn't share because I'm not like right in the middle of this, or I just came up with this idea and I'm an idea guy. And so I'm not going to share that I'm launching this new company because what if I don't complete it? What if I don't do it? Then people are going to be like, dude, he's always coming up with stuff and doesn't finish it and whatever. But for the things that I have done and the successes that I have achieved and being in the middle of the funk and sort of sharing that, I think you're 100% right. People want to be invited into that so they can, people want to cheer for you. The thing that they spend their time and energy on, they want to see that succeed. And so that succeeding is you, Morgan, you winning, you going after a thing that you just feel like called into, like you feel like you were wired to do, and you didn't make it. But then you've got a group of people around you that are trying to lift you up and encourage you and be like, dude, it's fine. Like you're going to be fine. And then when you do get it, they're cheering and they're like, you did it, man. Like we did it. We're doing this together. And I think, exactly. And you say that word collective, and I was going to say community. Like we feel like this is what we all long for, I think, in the big picture, not to get philosophical or anything.
I didn't mean to cut you off. No. I didn't mean to cut you off. No. I said I didn't mean to cut you off, as in like keep going. I got too excited.
Oh yeah. You're like, well, I'm going to pause. I say the word community because I think there's something in us that like really longs for that.
Okay, you sure? I felt like you were had another point.
Yeah, I don't want to squelch your excitement, man. Let's go.
So I wanted to call something out that's really important. That because we were just talking about it, right? We do these productions. We're doing video for clients, and we're telling a story, right? We're driving a narrative, and we're maybe even doing something episodic. So if you think about a TV show that you watch, why are you emotionally invested? It's probably because you're rooting for the main character. It's probably they're trying to accomplish something, and you're like, I have to see how this all pans out, right? And if you think about that, isn't it the same as what we just said? Like, you're emotionally invested to that character, but like you yourself could be that character that people root for as well, right? In life, and that's why people are cheering you on. And you mentioned the failure part. I think this is something that's incredibly important, and I tell myself this all the time. If I like hesitate or I'm like, I don't know about this, at the end of the day, we, right, as ourselves, have to live with ourselves 100% of the time. No one else is with us 100% of our entire life except for us. So every single failure, every single success, everything you have is 100% like with you, right? So if you want to go do something and people are like, oh, well, I don't know. It's like, well, it's 100%. It's you, right? You have to live with that forever. Right. And so I think the big thing is like, when you're going through that, it's like sharing that 100% journey and having people along it makes it feel more exciting because you are with yourself the entire time, but it also allows you to move forward because like, it doesn't really matter what people say because you are with yourself 100% of the time. So you're just going to make decisions that you need to for you as well.
Yeah. That's, I feel like for me, I've overcome a lot of the insecurity that has come with me, probably seeking approval, from some people. And I think about some relationships that I have. We're getting real deep here, but I think about some relationships that I have. And I know, a couple of people in particular that they have these amazing stories, right? And they've overcome some incredible stuff, like, holy cow, just like unbelievable stuff. But I've only ever gotten that story packaged up at the very end, like after achievement, right? Everything's put together. But dude, if you hear the story, it's like you've been struggling in your marriage or whatever for the last like 6 years, like big time. And you didn't invite me into that. Like you didn't like bring me along for that journey. Like you didn't show me any pictures or tell me any stories or, figure out like lean on me or us or this greater community. And so there's part of me that, thinks the same way as we talk about sharing our finished video. It's like, here it is. This thing's amazing. And yeah, nobody cares because it's wow, it seems so perfect. But man, if you knew what it cost to get to this right here, you'd be so much more invested. You'd care so much more. And when you saw that final product and it was perfect and it was beautiful, you wouldn't have the feeling of like, dude, that's like, it's fake, because you understand, right? You get me because I've shared. And so that, just as I'm processing this out loud, thank you for letting me do this. I think we have such a gift to offer the world. And I think so many times in my own insecurities and my own fear of like, well, like, I've got to put my best foot forward and, just let people know that my business is successful and whatever. And because success breeds success and like, that's a thing. But I'm like, at the end of the day, like, that's not really what I care about. No. If my business failed and I didn't have a community of people that surrounded me, loved me, and that were rooting for me, man, I think I failed at life.
I mean, that's right? Deep and that's accurate. But here's another thing to think about, because I immediately thought about it when you said seeking approval. What a lot of us are doing is seeking approval, right? Because we're creating content to get the approval, so there's likes and engagements, and that's a part of it, right?
Yeah, right.
And I'm the same way as you. Like I continuously work on not seeking the approval of others. It's very difficult. It's something I'm working on a day-to-day basis, and it probably plays into the work I do on social. Like, there's probably a part of that. So I'm always working on that. But I've changed my mindset on this recently, and it's fundamentally changed the way that I execute. So instead of worrying about the approval of others, and also people that we'll never meet in our life, think about seeking the approval of future Ryan. This is gonna change. This is gonna mess you up. Think about this. I'm gonna mess you up a little bit. All right. So we're here. This is really important. It'll actually change the way you operate your life and your business. So I don't know if anyone has ever shared this on your 300 million episodes, but I'm gonna tell you right now that this is when someone gave me this advice, it changed the whole entire way I think about life. So have you ever heard of your why? Simon Sinek, right? Cool. Mm-hmm. Everyone on here probably has heard of that. Now, have you ever heard of your anti-why? Okay. No. Same reaction I had. I was like, the heck are you talking about, dude? So this guy's like, I operate off of the anti-why, and it's the reason why I'm massively successful. And I was like, all right, so I'm hooked. What does that mean? So he's like, this gives me goosebumps. Every day, he said, I think about, I'm on my deathbed, and the person that I was supposed to become, the family, the lifestyle, the business, the spouse, the friends, they have everything. They come in, I see them, they shake my hand, and I die. I don't know how that doesn't inspire you every single day when you hear that. Because then you're like, imagine if that happened. Everything that you wanted, you saw it, boom, passed. And your life was like, you didn't really live up to what you wanted, and you had a little regrets on your deathbed. Big. So it's like, can I think about always seeking the approval of that person? And that changes the way you think about it. I don't think you should seek approval of anyone. You should live the way that you want to live. But if you really want to pivot that feeling, focus on that future person that like would be disappointed if you made X mistake or X thing, because that's the person you want to become. Change the way you think about it.
That's really good. And also because I was sending a Marco Polo this morning to a couple of buddies and talking about that, like, I have high standards for people, for others, like my employees and just my family and whatever. But it's only because I have extremely high expectations of myself So if I did what you're saying and I said, okay, like I've got high expectations, so I better deliver. Like I better step up to the plate and do so that my future me would look back and be like, yeah, like you went after that. And I do have to like kind of like lower my expectations on everybody else because it's just not okay. But yeah, I think that's a good way to put it, because if I could live really up to my expectations, like holy cow, like I'd be
I mean, and it's the thought of it. Like, is every single day going to be amazing? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying if you think about it that way, you will do more things. You will not just kind of wallow around on most things too.
Oh, Morgan, this is it's not really where the notes I had. I was like, oh yeah, we could talk about this and this and this has been so good. I would love to just end on like very tactical, because people were like,
I know,
wow, this got real deep.
I need some tactics there.
Yeah, yes. So tactic, again, like think of the filmmaker that's, we're our own worst enemy when it comes to creating content. We're doing it for our clients, hardly doing it for ourselves, if at all. What is a good tactic, a good top of funnel prospecting type thing that we should be doing? Where should we be showing up? What can you leave us with?
I love the power of threes. So 3 things that we're going to talk about. So number 1 is, you said top of the funnel opportunities, or what should we be doing? This is really important because it's easy to get caught up in this. And I know everyone will be different because it depends on what type of projects you're doing. Identify where should you start living. Now that is, I'm not saying, I'm not real estate. I'm not saying we're going to go relocate to a different city or a country. Like, that's not what I'm saying. What I mean is, where should you be living digitally? So if you're like, I'm getting a lot of clients that are from Instagram, you should be figuring out, how do I do more stuff on Instagram? Or, hey, a lot of my clients are like high ticket, high enterprise B2B. You should probably be spending a lot of time on LinkedIn, right? So it's just thinking about, where should you be living more digitally? And then kind of 1B, how do you partner with these clients so you can get more exposure of your work? But how could you be included in their work? How can you get them to shout you out? How can you get them to show you love? These are all things that are incredibly important, right? And that's what I would be doing across the board, right? So that's like number 1, is finding where you can live digitally. Now, the second thing is, once you've identified where you can be living digitally, because obviously you want people to see more of your work and what you're doing, think of something that you can do that's themed every week. So I'm going to give you an example of what you could do and how it helped me when I was doing my sales training business. So every Tuesday, I would do something called Tactical Tuesday. So what I would do is I would screen share something that I would do tactically in sales. So most of it was like on Sales Navigator. So I'd be like, here's how you do this thing. Here's how you save this search. Here's how you do this cold call, etc. So people are like, all right, I see what you're doing. Can you, like a 3-minute video, can you do more? Like, obviously. So the thing is, like, that's a way that you could do that. So tactically, you could talk about maybe a project you have coming up and what your thought process is behind it. Obviously, you don't have to talk about the client per se. You can, obviously be creative and you don't have to mention exactly what you're doing. But that's really, that'd be good. Like, I don't know, share Saturday. I'm making stuff up right now. Share Saturday, right? Walk people through like the project that you're working on, right? And so that could be something that would be massively applicable that I would be thinking about. And the third thing that I would say is, can you do something that's a bigger event, maybe it's virtually or in person, to attract more people and show what production that you could do, right? Producing your own things. You're doing it for clients, but can you produce something your own? So the way that I think about it, I call it the 3 T's. Time. Can you produce something that is your own film, right, to put out there, right? This is what Netflix does, right? They have Netflix originals. Can you all do your own original content? Yeah, you could. You know what you're doing, right? So why not create that? Go get some people who are peers, partners, etc., and say, hey, twice a year, we're going to do this type of content. We're going to do it together. I want to produce it as its own original film, put it out there, show people what you're capable of, etc. I have a friend that I work with, and he has a video production company, and he works with larger enterprises. And some of the content is really good, but he can't share it, right? Clients like, yeah, you can't share that content. So, okay, how am I supposed to get out there and make original films? And that's a good way of going into that as well.
I missed the 3 T's. What did you call them?
Oh, timing, talent, and topic. So every single time I work with a client and we create a show, I'm like, timing, topic, talent. we have to identify that. What time are we doing it? Right. And I'll actually explain that a little bit more because there's some context there. What is the topic? And then the talent. Timing's the most important. So, for example, in the sales world, at the end of the year, everyone wants to talk about how to close deals. Nobody wants to talk about how to get more meetings right now. People are like, I'm trying to close deals. Help me out. But it's interesting. January and February, everybody wants to talk about getting new deals because people are like, I need pipeline for the year. But closing, people are like, yo, I've been literally in deals for like the past couple months. I don't care about that right now. So timing is so important when you pick these topics. And then talent, obviously, you could have someone who has, so for example, I'm going to pick on her real quick. Kim Kardashian, right? Millions and millions of followers. But if I'm like, hey guys, I'm doing cold calling with Kim Kardashian, that is not the right talent. That's not going to go down well. People are going to show up probably to like watch her flop, but like, it's not going to go well. She's not going to give any good tactical advice.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like, you gotta pay attention to this. People get lost. People are like, oh, well, we can get so-and-so because they're popular. But like, if it has no context to the topic, why would you bring that person in? Identifying the right talent with the topic is a critical aspect.
Yeah, love that. That's really good. I'm excited about this. There is also a feeling of like overwhelm, like you say. You're number 2. Think of like a themed week. Anybody on here? You know, I pushed for a long time. Like, man, I don't. You know, we're not on social, and I just don't have time. And eventually, last year, we hired a company to just help us get it done because it was just like, making me feel like, we got to show up, but I don't have the bandwidth. So a weekly thing, but you know, you can batch that out. You can pick one day a month and think through what are 4 theme things that we can create and show up. I mean, that it doesn't need to be harder than you're making it out to be in your head. Morgan, this has been fantastic. I'm super grateful that we got to do this. Where should people follow along with what you've got going on, and how can they engage with you?
Yeah. So AIMorgan.com. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
This guy.
I'm kidding. So best place to get more in-depth insights, newsletter. So newsletter, if you want to go subscribe, is morganjingram.com. And then everything is the same. So at Morgan J. Ingram on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, whatever digital real estate platform you really like to dive into. Really diving more into YouTube as of late. So getting more into videos, but primarily I'm on LinkedIn, the most active.
Love it, dude. Hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate your insights, and what a joy it was to be with you today.
Likewise, enjoyed it.
All right, friend, this was episode 342, and you can access the show notes and the links and the things that we discussed if you go to studiosherpas.com/342, because that's the episode number. Let me know. I'd love to know, did you like this episode? Did you like the topic? Was there something that stood out? I loved chatting with Morgan. That was so much fun. If you're watching this video and you did have a takeaway or something that, an aha moment, we'd love to see that or hear that from you. So leave us a comment and let us know. If you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. You can always email me, and my email address is ryan@studiosherpas.com. And I said so many things on the front end of this episode. I did want you to just one last glance. Like, check out this shirt. Normally, I hate like free shirts, and I usually just they're not comfortable. The design isn't good, and that's actually true for both of these things. The design is really bad. It's a little small, but it reminds me of the trip that I got to take with my 7th grader. She wanted me to go on this trip, so that's pretty special. Anyway, thank you. That was a little bonus. That's like the bonus track, on a CD. There's that. Okay, that's all I've got for now. I will see you on next week's episode. Until then, onward and upward, my friends. Talk to you real soon. See ya.